Good evening, folks. Chris Nitso, Weather IQ. Hey, hippie girl, how are you? Thanks for joining us. Just waiting for our YouTube stream to go live, and then we are good to go. My favourite long-haired weatherman. Thanks, Dolphin. Keep getting told to get it cut. But how boring is it? Every 40-year-old has short hair. Like, where's the uniqueness in that, you know? So that's why I'm not getting it cut. I get it sort of styled sometimes, but yeah, I'm not getting it cut. There's 95% of 40-year-olds either don't have hair or they've got short hair. I'm going to be one of the 5%. Alrighty, let's get stuck in. We've got a little bit to cover tonight. I don't think there's too much. I'll just take some questions at the end for those that want to ask some questions. My name's Chris Nitso, Weather IQ's lead forecaster, and we do these informal updates every few nights. It's usually every 2 nights, but because there's not a hell of a lot going on right now, we'll give it 3 nights before we go again. So our next one will be Thursday night. Let me just do something here. I'm getting a bit of static and feedback. So our next one will be Thursday night. Rightio, we've got a couple of, one low that we really need to discuss, and that's this one here around Georgetown, just to the southwest of Georgetown. It's 420 kilometres away from Townsville, and from Cairns, it's approximately 380 kilometres to the southwest of Cairns, and from Georgetown, it's about 100 kilometres southwest of Georgetown. So this low is the bane of our existence at the moment. It's been very tricky to forecast. And it's been one of those situations where what it does has such a big outcome in terms of who gets weather on the east coast. Right, so the idea here is going to be that this system is going to be slow moving, but will start moving westwards over the course of the next few days, and therefore its effects on the actual coastline will decrease over time. Tonight we've got some extremely heavy rain developing between Innisfail and Ingham. You can see that as red on the radar there, and that ain't going anywhere in a hurry, so that's going to cause a lot of rain tonight for that area. The heavy rain there was around Townsville and certainly Rolling Stone. The Townsville stuff looks to be done. There might be a little bit of light stuff overnight or a few showers overnight, but nothing too heavy there for Townsville coming anymore. So the focal point is now Rolling Stone northwards, up to about Innisfail at the moment, and tomorrow that focal point will shift by the end of the day all the way to Cairns and the Daintree. Let's talk about what this low is going to do, and then we'll come back to the rainfall situation in North Queensland and have a closer look at that. So we're going to use a far north overlay here, and we're going to have a look at the winds about 500 metres above the surface. So what we're looking for here is what this low is. By the way, this is ex-tropical cyclone Luana, the one here. That's tracking southwards through WA. All right, I'm just making sure that you guys are seeing what I'm seeing. Yep, beautiful. All right, so there's our low over the course of the next, 24 to 48 hours. The system's going to start moving west, and very, very slowly at first, and then as we get into Wednesday morning, Thursday morning, we're going to see it continue tracking west into the Northern Territory. Now, at the same time as that happens, the Northern Territory is going to start to fire up their monsoon. Their monsoon is going to get a little bit of a boost from South Asia. There's a bit of a wind surge coming through the southern parts of Asia, coming across the equator, and that little wind surge is going to boost up and bolster that monsoon strength across the top end. So the top end's going to be a fairly active weather place over the course of the next week for sure. And the fact that there's a little low over here around Tennant Creek or between Tennant Creek and Katherine is only going to make that stronger, that monsoonal pulse that's going to come across the top end. So from there, the system is likely to continue moving westwards, and we're a little bit split about what it does over the weekend. Some of the models then want to bring it down through Central Australia. Some of the models, the more interesting scenarios, want to keep taking it west towards the Kimberley. And if it does go west towards the Kimberley, there is a small chance that it might be able to get offshore and become our next tropical cyclone. And you can see that reflected there in the Euro model. Now, it's always important that I don't just show you one model. Otherwise, I'm being a very much a hypocrite when I call out other pages who show you the one model. So let's have a look at the general model consensus here about what's going on with our various models. I'll just make sure we're watching the latest here. Sometimes, yeah, there you go, it updated just as I was. So I haven't seen this one yet, but I'm assuming not much has changed. All right, so you can see here the low only starts to get picked up on Saturday, Sunday, out here around the Western NT and through the Kimberley. And so when we track that low from there, we can see that there's actually quite a reasonable chance that this system moves west, even as far west as getting off the coast of WA. It's pretty impressive for a little low that started up here around Nhulunbuy, tracks southeast, tracks south, is about to track west, and could come back off the WA coastline. Now, what we're particularly interested in, and this is what fills us with a bit of hope for the Pilbara, because the Pilbara is crying out for rain right now. They haven't had rain for a long time. And so the idea could be we could see a situation where the system passes very close to and or very close to the Pilbara coast offshore or onshore, and that would be an amazing situation for rainfall for the Pilbara. Obviously, we don't want it to get out too far to sea, otherwise it'll become really strong, and we don't want it coming back at the Pilbara as a strong cyclone. But if it can sort of hug the coast, that would be an absolute godsend scenario for the Pilbara. There's a lot of folks who are crying out for rain here between sort of Headland and Carnarvon. So hopefully, you know, it's very early days, so we don't want to get our hopes up too much, and there's a lot of moving parts to this, but there's quite a number of computer models that take this out this way. So that's what we're hoping for. But obviously we understand, I mean, there's going to be a lot of variability here over the course of the next 7 to 12 days. But that's the expectation at the moment. That little weak low around Georgetown will start moving west and potentially bring some rain out into potentially the Kimberley and maybe the Pilbara, depending on what it does from there. And you can see there that we've got reasonable agreement, at least to the point where we get it to the Kimberley. That's about as far as we've got agreement. After that, some models want to take it further. Some models want to bring it down down through WA. So that's our general model consensus there. So there's a fair bit of doubt, but at this stage, it's looking positive. So what are we talking about there? We've got a system that's moving west. So Queensland's tropics will settle down. So after the heavy rain for the next couple of days, Queensland will settle down. The focus will shift over to the top end. The top end will do the opposite of settle down. They'll fire up because their monsoon gets a big surge from South Asia. And on top of that, they're going to have this low mucking around. And then this low is going to push westwards over to WA, hopefully over to WA. And then we'll have to play it by ear as to what it does as we get closer to it. So pretty impressive. This little system is going to cause massive rain for potentially 3 states, definitely 2 states, or if you call the territory a state. So the idea will be that it's definitely going to cause big rain here, and potentially big rain out here. So pretty impressive for one little system. All right, so that's what we're dealing with there. Let me go back to our. By the way, we have a subscription service for those of you that would like to support us. We're fully funded by our subscribers. So iWar Basic gets you all the basic forecasts that I do every single day of the wet season. Today we did, how many did we do today? Anyone remind me? 1 about the top end monsoon. So everything I'm talking to you about, I've already talked to these guys, our subscribers about the Cape and Gulf, the rain there, the Cairns rainfall, the Townsville rainfall. We talked about Mackay, central Queensland, those strong thunderstorms in southeast Queensland's high country today. And we talked about all the stuff we're talking about with the monsoon and this low we've already discussed. And we've already looked at the Queensland weather week ahead. So they're the forecasts you'd get for a $32.95 subscription. So, and you'd get those every single day. All right, and also our major sponsor, top left, Fair Income Builds, Townsville, folks. So if you're in the market for a shed, head over to them and give them a try. Ask them for a quote for your shed, safe accredited shed. All right, so going back to this. Queensland, and I just want to have a look at far north Queensland. There's a fair bit of rain still to come for far north Queensland before all this settles down, all right? So I don't want you thinking this is going to settle down straight away. There's a lot coming here over the next 24 to 48 hours. And we're going to use because everything's going to head up Cairns way, we might use the Tully overlay Tully overlay. Beautiful. All right, so right now, and we'll zoom in a little bit so we got a better idea of what's going on. So you can see very, very heavy rainfall at the moment between Innisfail and Ingham. This red stuff here that we've got around Cardwell is 50 millimetres plus an hour. So it's really, really impressive rainfall rates. So it's about as heavy as the stuff that was around Rolling Stone this morning, which is around 50 to 100 mils an hour. So that's how impressive this stuff is around Cardwell. Now, what we're looking for at any stage over the next 24 to 48 hours is the possible rotational development through this area. So we'll be looking at velocity radar in particular, as well as reflectivity radar for any signs of rotation. This is a really deadly combo when it comes to deadly, not as in you're going to die, but deadly as in a really awesome combo for very, very heavy rainfall when there's these little rotations that develop right along the mountain range. And you can see perhaps there might be something starting around Tully there at the moment. So what does that do? Is it really increases the rate of lift, the rate of lifting motion to the south of the system in this setup where we've got a northerly and an easterly coming together. And it also increases not just the rate of atmospheric lift, but also the speed at which the air comes in and hits the mountain range. And so this creates a real intensity of that lift on the mountain range. So this can easily create a couple of 100 millimetres in one night, easily. And most times it can create more than that. And usually it can create 1 to 200 millimetres in just a couple of hours. So this is why this is something that's so potent. That area around Cardwell will start to see huge numbers very, very quickly if that little low starts to spin up. It's not really a low, it's a little eddy starts to spin up around Tully. So that's what we're looking for. Further to the north, we got some strong rainfall echoes from some showers and thunderstorms coming in on the monsoon. One of the things is the monsoon is currently going through this Innisfail-Tully area, and so the idea is as these strong storms come into the monsoon, they slow down and they turn into a big rainy blobby mess. And inside that big rainy blobby mess, we're looking for any rotation, as I mentioned. As I say, there's a hint of that potentially around Tully right now, so that would mean that the area just south of that will start to really fire up, and we've already started in the last half hour to really fire up that area around Cardwell, even around Tully, and even as far north as Innisfail now we're starting to see that development of heavy rainfall. All right, so that's the area we'd be targeting tonight. There's still a few showers still to come for Townsville overnight. So you can see those still coming into the Townsville coastline, but the heavy falls of rain will be north of there. This little rotational area, potentially the convergence zone, all sort of north of Townsville tonight. All right, so let's have a look here at the high-res modelling for this area for the next couple of days, because there's a lot going on. Certainly in the next 24 hours, there's a lot going on. Right, so let's make sure we're looking at the latest. Rightio. So this is around about now, so you can see that heavy rainfall around Cardwell, Ingham being forecast all the way up to Innisfail, and you can see lighter rainfall potential down through the Townsville district. Heavy rainfall from showers and thunderstorms coming across the Daintree from the inland and pushing out to sea. Potentially a little storm there for Cairns, or a shower there for Cairns tonight as well. And then as we continue on tomorrow, or overnight tonight, tomorrow, look at this massive rain that just starts to develop and just sits here. Just sits here and sits here and sits here all night. And then you've got a situation there where we're just building up heavy rainfall. Now, the big thing to understand here is the moment this rotation forms, we're at the mercy of what it does. All right, so if that rotation sits on the coast for 3 hours, that coastline is going to get 50 to 100 mils an hour for 3 hours. If that rotation decides it wants to go offshore, that's going to take the really intense rain offshore with it. Okay, so we're really at the mercy. When these little rotational eddies happen, we are totally at their mercy. If they decide to sit in place, I should say, we're going to see the rain sit in place. It's very difficult to forecast these ahead of time. You can only see them happening in real time. And right now in real time, it looks like it's happening between Tully and Innisfail, and it looks like it's the start of it. So there's still a fair few hours to go before it decides to do something. All right, so that means that we're going to see some very heavy rain in this area over the course of the next 6 to 12 hours. Yeah, you can see potential falls in the 200-300 millimetre range in between sort of Ingham and Innisfail associated with this rotational eddy development over the course of the next few hours. So this rainfall will thicken up and we'll start to see some really big numbers here just in the next 24 hours. Well, certainly in the next 12 hours. Not sure if that will stick around for tomorrow because that will be dependent on what the eddy does. And most likely the eddy will want to push offshore at some stage. All right, so the longer it stays in play, the more significant the rainfall will be here. So I would be expecting to see some localised flooding throughout this region between Innisfail and possibly as far south as Rolling Stone if some of this shifts southwards a bit. Wouldn't be expecting it over Townsville. Would be expecting it anywhere north of Rolling Stone and south of Cairns. So wouldn't be expecting it in the two major places, right? Townsville or Cairns. Not expecting it in either of those two major places, at least not overnight and tomorrow morning. All right, so that's our big area to watch in the next 24 hours. If we keep looking at this from an AI perspective and just sort of seeing what AI has to say about the situation, the problem with AI in this setup is it's not it's a fairly coarse modelling example. So it understands that the problem here is going to be the possible rotational development that could really enhance rainfall or take that rainfall away, depending on what that does, right? So it gets it, but it's just not highly enough resolved to see it. Okay, so you can see the area here in between Cairns and Tully is the area that it's sort of targeting for a little bit of rotation, just in here. So it's targeting it, but it's not quite showing us it, right? So you can see the curvature, but you just can't get that tightness of that curvature just because it's not a highly enough resolved model. And if we continue then, as we go into 4 a.m, there it is there. See how it tries to tighten it up in between Innisfail and Tully overnight? Yeah, so it gets it. It understands how this usually plays out over this region. And so that's where AI is so good, is because it figures it out. It figures it out without us having to tell it or program it to do so. It figures it out based on what's happened in the past, based on its current conditions, the current inputs. So that's why we like AI. We unfortunately can't use it for proper rain forecasting in this setup because it's not highly enough resolved to see it. Anyway, the point of the matter is here we're looking at big rain tonight and overnight tonight, early tomorrow in this Innisfail, Tully, Cardwell, Ingham, maybe as far south as Rolling Stone area, where this curvature of the flow is enhanced from this little eddy that wants to stick very close to the coast all night. So you can see there, first signs of it around 4 p.m, proper signs or even slightly better signs of it now, and then as we go into 4 a.m, clear sign that there's a bit of rotation there. All right, so lots of rain coming. Now, the model wants to take that quickly and push it offshore. So once it takes it quickly and pushes it offshore, what do you reckon is going to happen to the rain? The rain's about to go offshore with it. Okay, so the idea here is we are totally at the mercy of these things. All right, now if this one goes offshore, then we see if we can set up another one over the course of Wednesday. All right, so if this one goes offshore tomorrow night, Wednesday, we could see another one. Now, if that one develops offshore, what do you reckon is going to happen to the rain? It's going to go offshore as well. All right, so it's really, really important that we focus in real time and see what's going on in real time, because we can't forecast these well ahead of time. They're very small features. They're very difficult to spot until they're happening. So that's the part, as I say, I've been saying this now for quite some time. We are totally, around this coastline, we're totally at the mercy of what these little circulations do. All right, longer term, we're seeing a southeasterly flow or east-southeasterly flow, and you can see the monsoon pushing up north past Cooktown as we go into Thursday, and then Friday, that monsoon shifts further north. Now, that monsoon is going to start to really fire up, but not in the Queensland side of the country. It's going to fire up in the Northern Territory. So they're going to start to see some really big rainfall development up there from strong monsoonal squalls and potential for squeezing or convergence in that monsoonal flow as well, which could really enhance the rainfall up around Darwin, the Darwin-Daly district in particular, but potentially all through the top end. And if we take a look here at the best guess estimate of rainfall when it comes to northeast Queensland. So obviously tonight we're going to see heavy rainfall from the Flinders Highway around Richmond, Hewenden northwards. And we can see our heavy rainfall just north of Townsville. That was this afternoon. As we Into tonight or this evening, you can see a heavy rainfall setting up between Innisfail and Rolling Stone. You can see Townsville, too far south, Cairns, too far north. And you can see heavy rainfall in between sort of Charters Towers and Georgetown. As we continue into 4 a.m, so overnight tonight, that area of really heavy and intense rain sticks around Innisfail Innisfail to Rolling Stone, because that little circulation doesn't want to go anywhere. That one that's forming just now between Tully and Innisfail doesn't want to go anywhere all night. So it wants to stay there. So it's going to keep hammering us with rain. As we continue into tomorrow morning, we start to see signs that rain's going to be pushing offshore. So between 4 a.m. and 10 a.m. is probably when that low starts to take off out to sea, and so taking the rain away with it. As we look further westwards though, our low here around west of Georgetown is continuing to produce significant rainfall over inland areas. All right, so as we continue then into 4 p.m. tomorrow, we can see a heavy rainfall between Ingham and Innisfail, but also potentially going out to sea as well. Moving on into 10 p.m. tomorrow, we can see that rain now starting to spread northwards, dependent on whether we've got a new eddy to deal with tomorrow night. So if we've got a new little rotational area to deal with tomorrow night, then Cairns will be at the mercy of what that rotational area does. So a lot of the times when we see these rotational areas, they form around the big mountain ranges. So usually we tend to find that they're forming between Ingham and Babinda, because of the big tall mountain ranges there, some of the biggest mountains in Queensland. And not far behind are the mountains of the Daintree. The mountains of the Daintree are about 1,200, 1,300 metres high. All right, so these mountains too create disturbances in the airflow, and these little eddies can form very close to the Daintree coast. So if they form on the Daintree coast, then we're looking at the area just south. If they form around Cape Trib, we'd be looking for Mossman, Port Douglas, those sort of areas getting absolutely smashed tomorrow night. But we don't know that, right? We don't know that ahead of time. That's going to be a real-time view. We're going to have to watch the radar in real time to figure it out. We're not going to be able to say tomorrow morning, get ready, you're going to get smacked. No, because we can't see it. All right, as we go through, we can see that this area of heavy rain then extends towards the northeast. So it looks as though something new tries to form around the Daintree and wants to push out to sea. As we go through Wednesday, we can see that the rain settles down. There's still a fair bit of shower and storm activity. And then on Wednesday night, we get another line of showers and thunderstorms coming through Cooktown to the Daintree, north of Cairns this time, Cooktown to the Daintree. And then once again, those will try and get out to sea, but we are at the mercy again. Usually at night time, these things tend to happen. We're at the mercy again of any rotational area that might form between, say, Cooktown and Cape Melville. And if that does happen, then Cape Trib to the Daintree could see heavy rainfall. All right, so that's where we are at the moment. So there's still plenty of rain to be had for far north Queensland, and we're not going to, that's obviously an underestimation of some of the potential for rainfall, all right, but that's the smoothing effect of the model. So because the model's been smoothed, we don't have the high-res version, we're not going to know if we're going to see that sort of rain. And we won't see that sort of rainfall as spread out as it is there, right? So not everyone's getting 100 mils. I don't want you thinking that. It's just that because we've got to smooth it out, the places that are getting 300 aren't going to see the 300 on the chart, and the places that are only getting 20, they're going to look like they're getting 100, right? So that's the smoothing effect. And unfortunately, we're not at the stage where we've got AI modelling that doesn't do that. So our high-res model, which is our Access C North Queensland, of course, this is a model we like to use for these sort of setups, but the problem is it can be a little bit overactive and hyperactive when it comes to this stuff. And sometimes it shows up some pretty ordinary scenarios. But that's the sort of type of rainfall outlook that we would expect in this setup, right? The possibility of local falls that are in that 200 to 300 millimetre range in the next 2 days. All right, but they're not going to be everywhere. And you can see just a great example there. If we go up to Cairns, you can see a great example in the model that Cairns is getting 20 to 25 mils, all right? But just south around Babinda, potential of 300 mils, right? So that's the real difficult process that we've got here, depending on where the rotational eddies form in the next 2 to 3 days, about who gets the rainfall. As I say, we're 100% at the mercy of where those rotational things happen, and we don't see them coming. We don't see them coming ahead of time. They're just things that just form spontaneously from all of the big storm activity that comes in, slows down, creates a big blobby rainy mess, and inside that big blobby rainy mess we have both the winds inside the rainy mess and the winds at the bottom at the surface coming into that big rainy mess, and then we've got the big mountain ranges, and they're the key here that creates the Oh, look, there's a little bit of shower activity for Townsville, but we're not expecting any major rainfall for Townsville now. It's just more of how many mils can you get out of a few showers overnight. Good to hear you got your voice back. Yeah, it's not 100% Andrew, but thank you. Yeah, it's getting there. Grow a mullet, Nitso, says Jacob. Yeah, that's the style, eh? Oh, yeah, that's the style. I don't know, it's going to take a little while. Doesn't grow as quick these days. GTD stuff. Hi, Nitso. Full subby for many years. Love catching your YouTube updates. Just here to troll normies. Good on you, GTD. Thanks, mate. Saw an eddy forming just east of Cairns in a day or two. Yeah, Scott, we don't know, mate. That's just models guessing. You know, I could show you a model that shows you an eddy off Ingham. You could show me a model that shows you an eddy east of Cairns. Yeah, we just don't know. But yeah, there does look to be a chance there for an eddy east of Cairns. Oh no, what's happened? All my chats are gone. Nitso lost all audio on YouTube. Oh no, that's not good. When did you lose? What part did you hear? Maybe I should go back. Hang on. What part did you hear about and what part didn't you hear about? Can someone write that in a comment for me? Okay, you can hear me now? Okay, beautiful. All right. Okay. Yeah, if we lost sound for a long time, did we lose audio for ages or did we lose audio for was gone for a few minutes? Oh shit. Okay. All right. Well, this is on record anyway, so I'll put the recording up on YouTube anyway, so you've got the recording. All right. Any rain during the day in Cairns Wednesday? Yeah, there should be. Absolutely. Yeah, there should be some rain in Cairns on Wednesday. Let's have a look. Tuesday, Wednesday. Yeah, there it is there. Yeah, there should be, yeah. I would suggest to you that overnight, Tuesday night, Wednesday morning, and then Wednesday during the day, probably a few showers through the day. And then on Wednesday night, we don't know. Probably moving a little bit further north, mate. Yeah. So, yeah, a little bit of rain for Wednesday for Cairns. Jumunji. David Haley, 46 degrees in Geelong. Jesus, that's not good. Stephen, I think I'll troll Facebook pages, fake Facebook pages. Yeah, good, mate. Good. Troll them hard. Is it going to be hot in Brisbane or the Lockyer Valley? Not as hot as today, Karen. Tomorrow's going to be much cooler, I think. If we take a look, Brisbane was very hot today, and I think there were some nice storms out the back of Brisbane in the high country. Yeah, look at those big suckers. Oh, geez, look at them coming in. Oh, they're even getting off the high country now. They're right up through the southeast there. They're nice storms, aren't they? They're not coming towards the coast, by the way. They're sort of moving parallel towards the coast, so don't stress if you're in Brisbane. You might see the lightning from them, but you won't get them. The expectation tomorrow, mate, is that you're going to cool down a lot. Today was very hot in the area. Tomorrow is going to be much cooler. Let's have a quick look at tomorrow's temperatures. See if we've got them. No. Yep, we do. Yeah, so much cooler. Basically, you're dropping by about 10 degrees tomorrow. So yeah, much cooler. Lockyer Valley too, going to be much cooler tomorrow, mate. No worries about that. Look, I don't think it's going to be that cool all week. I think we're going to move back into some pretty warm temperatures, but not the sort of heat I think we had today. Yeah, so tomorrow, tomorrow, still getting into the low 30s, and then as we go into, yeah, so still warm. But on the coast today is going to be way cooler tomorrow compared to today. On the coast is big time cooler. But yeah, still pretty warm throughout the week, and then maybe getting warmer over the weekend. Okay. If we only lost audio for a minute, I'm not going to bother putting the whole thing up because you wouldn't have lost anything too much in the minute. Leftover lamb, Greek kebab tonight. Nice, Pat. Nice. Good stuff. Is it going to be hot? No, we've already done that one. 26, 2 minutes. Yeah, so if we've only lost 2 minutes, no, don't worry about it. I won't put the whole new thing up. Can hear rumbles outside. Today was a stinker. James. Yeah, you must be southeast Queensland, James. Yeah, it would have been. Leone, again, maybe hold off putting salt in the pool until after next weekend. Yeah, I'm not sure how that goes. What, you don't want any rain in the pool after salt in the pool? If that's the case, then yeah, don't do that. Leone, nothing there for the Whitsundays, mate. Nothing that I'm seeing. Let's have a quick look. There was nothing there that makes me go. Certainly nothing today and tomorrow that's interesting. Just like sort of this light drizzle stuff. You see that on your screen? See that light green garbage? Yeah, so that's like a couple of pitter-patter drops, right? So that's the sort of stuff we can expect there over the course of probably the next 12 to 18 hours, and then even that breaks up. I think the first sign of some showers on the Whitsundays comes in a southeasterly. So if we take a look here, there's a bit of a southeasterly that comes up the coast during the week. Yeah, that there. See that little white-blue bit that came up through Mackay? So this little bit here, Wednesday night, Thursday morning, Thursday, there's a few showers for the Whitsundays coming through Thursday. Nothing dramatic there, just a southeasterly surge with a couple of showers. And then over the weekend, just a couple of showers, mate. Nothing there for the Whitsundays for you to mull over, I think. Fee, join my station to Underground today. Another site to learn to navigate. Yeah, it's a good place to check out what all your neighbours got, and yeah, I do like to use Underground for the personal weather stations. Big storm and rain happening in Ellarish, 17 kilometres north of Tully, where you said the eddy is spinning up. Yeah, thanks, Deb. That's good ground truthing. Good stuff, mate. Yeah, that area around Tully, holy dooly, that's going to cop a battering tonight, I think. Yeah, we're really seeing that firing up now, aren't we? Look at that. Whew. Yeah. Yeah, I'm not sure if that's the eddy firing up just yet, though. I'd hold off on that. I'm not seeing much in the way of rotation there. That could just be the monsoon. As these storms get to the monsoon, they're just sort of slowing down and turning into one big blobby rainy mess. But it would not shock me at all if we saw that eddy spin up anywhere from about Innisfail south to Tully, anywhere in there. and then we're at the mercy of how long it wants to stick around, really. But that's some impressive rainfall rates through Cardwell at the moment and through Tully at the moment, or just north of Tully at the moment. There's that's impressive rainfall, and those numbers will ramp up very, very quickly. You can see some heavy stuff just popping on the other side of Cairns too, on Yarrabah, and a couple of storms pushing through Mareeba. David Bullsey. Dave, how are you? Nitso, you still referee footy games? Nah, mate, nah. That's the legs gave way there a few years ago, mate. So, I just go to the gym these days to keep fit, and I've that's enough. That's enough. I'm buggered after that, and I still hate my cardio. Good to see you, Dave. Hope you're well, mate. If only that cell tracking towards the coast would hit the Gold Coast. Take a bit of heat out of the air. I think tomorrow you'll get a bit of heat out of the air, but yeah, I know what you mean. You've had an absolute stinker today, all through that southeast Queensland area. But we're just not seeing that steering environment to drive that thing into the coast. We're seeing it sort of parallel to the coast. I'll just have a quick look. Maybe there's a surprise there for us. Sometimes the high res modelling picks something up that I don't see. So we'll just have a quick look. Nothing that I saw earlier today that I let the subscribers know about suggested that cell was going to get to the Gold Coast. But you can see it's sort of peeling off. Hey, you can see there. But as it peels off, see how it's weakening as it peels off? It's weakening pretty quick too. I can't see that making the coast. Let's have a quick look. We'll use the high res model. Sometime with southeast Queensland, you guys are a freaking thing onto yourselves. There's marginal days there that turn into massive severe storm days, and there's a massive severe storm day that we all see coming, and then suddenly just nothing happens. It's just one of those places where sometimes you do get surprised. Yeah, so you can see there moving parallel to the coast. Yeah, moving parallel to the coast. It may be as far east as Ipswich, although it looks like it might be just west of Ipswich at the moment. But yeah, not expected to make it into the population centre, I wouldn't think, mate. And maybe a little bit of shower activity overnight just off the Gold Coast there. Looks to be your go. I can't see this pushing into this environment and surviving all the way to the coast on its own. No, I just don't see it. Matt, a few good ones brewing in Laura this afternoon to join the big mess over Mareeba Atherton. Yeah, that's exactly what they do, mate. If we go to... I don't think we've got Laura, so we'll have to use Cooktown. So what they do is they sort of form here and then they push southeast. So the Laura ones today are pushing into the Daintree. So they'll start forming here and they'll push down to the Daintree. And these ones are okay. You sort of go through the storm and then it pushes away. The problem is when these storms hit the monsoon, they slow down. So here, they're all moving in one direction, happy days, all right? And you get a bit of light rain behind them. But down here, they get to the monsoon and then they're slowing down as they're getting to the monsoon. And this is where they turn into that big, blobby, rainy mess. And some storms are stronger than others, and so they command a little bit of inflow versus some other storms which are outflow dominant. And so they start to create little boundaries between themselves and inside themselves, and that's what starts the eddies up. And on top of that, as I mentioned, the big mountain ranges, which have their own set of disturbances to the air mass, they add their little bit to the mix, and it just becomes a big jumbly mess of different air streams, and that's where we start to get our rotational eddies. Hi, Weather IQ. Today is my birthday. John, happy birthday, mate. 37. Nice. I remember being 37. Nice, mate. Happy birthday. Australia Day too. Happy birthday on Australia Day. That's great. Need a decent storm for Harvey Bay or a cyclone. Kathy, good call there. Now, listen, I'm not telling you you're getting a cyclone. No, don't think there. But, hey, listen, let me talk to you about the Wide Bay for a sec. Now, in the Coral Sea, there's a few shenanigans going on out here. So I didn't think we needed to talk about them because they're not that important, but there's a lot going on out here. So I just wanted to draw your attention. So remember that Willis Island low that was stopping all the rain from going into North Queensland? And I said that's going to bugger off, and once that happens, we get all the rain in North Queensland. So that happened. So there's our little low. It's over here, right? And you think, oh yeah, it's gone. No worries. Why are we talking about it? Well, the reason we're talking about it is because that low then comes south, and then it starts to come west again. So see this? bang, starts to come west again. Now listen, we're not anticipating that low to be anything, all right? So before you start stressing about cyclones hitting the area, no. And on top of that, we've got another little complicated system out here that kicks off because of an upper level trough. So there's an upper level low, start from the start there. There's an upper level trough that amplifies into the Coral Sea, cuts off into an upper low, and then that upper low induces surface cyclogenesis, so a surface low pressure system, all right, to the northeast of it, which is very common. And then that low basically comes west as well. So there's sort of like a big broad trough in the Coral Sea coming through. And what we're thinking here is maybe if the trough can get all the way to the coast, we might be able to snag ourselves a few showers down there in southeast Queensland. Nothing more than that, just a few showers, right? That's the only thing we'd be expecting out of that, right? So for you, even that's probably a bit of wishful thinking by the looks of that. See how we get those showers, but we get them to sort of 100 k's offshore, and we don't quite push them onto the coast. We sort of just keep them off the coast there. So yeah, look, I say it's interesting. It might get interesting. If it looks like that trough might make it to the coast, we might pick ourselves up a few showers down there in the Wide Bay area. But yeah, it was looking a bit more interesting 2 days ago when we first saw this coming. It looked like we were going to get a few showers back then, and now it's just more. The more we look at it, the more it looks like this is going to stay away from the coast, which a bit of a bummer. But the one thing that this will do, low pressure out here in the Coral Sea, will stabilise a large chunk of Queensland during this period on Saturday, Sunday, Monday. There will be some troughing coming through from the west, and so that troughing might be less impactful around southeast and central Queensland if there's a lot of stability in the air because of these lows sniffing about out here. But listen, absolutely no threat of a tropical cyclone. So anyone starts calling that out, call out that bullshit, eh? Do you think Mareeba will get good rain? We've been getting 10 minutes here and there. Not worth talking about. Yeah. I mean, you say that, but, there's some pretty decent intensity cells there. I don't think we should be downplaying some of these storms that are pushing through the tablelands, because they are showing real intensity. And if you snag yourself a couple of these in a row, like there's a good one coming through Mareeba now, you're not on the monsoon. So that's the one thing you got going against you. See, this area here, Tully, Cardwell, Ingham, they're on the monsoon, right? So that means that as the storms hit them, they slow down. So they slow down, they turn into a big blobby rainy mess. Mareeba's still north of the monsoon. So you're just going to get a big whack of rain, push across, and then that's it, done and dusted. As the monsoon shifts northwards in the next couple of days, you're going to see that Mareeba's storms will be a little bit more slow moving. They'll be patchier, they won't be as organised, and when you do get under one, there's a chance there for heavier rainfall over not just Mareeba, Atherton, all the Atherton Tableland areas, like Malanda, Herberton, Ravenshoe, those sort of regions, right? So all of those areas are in line for slower moving cells, which give you more chance of picking up heavy rainfall. But for now, we'd be expecting just you sort of a whack and then done. Then potentially another whack at some stage tonight, then done. All right, so that's the sort of stuff you'll get in Mareeba for now. And then tomorrow onwards, we could see more of that slow-moving stuff. John, yes, John, we've already had a look at that Cardwell area. There's that intense cell pushing down towards Ingham, I would imagine, potentially Rolling Stone as well. Yep. You can see this very, very significant rainfall in that Tully, Cardwell, Ingham area, and even out towards Innisfail. So there'll be some pretty big numbers popping up here overnight and into tomorrow morning, I would suspect, especially if something spins up. If something doesn't spin up, we'll still see some pretty big numbers, but we won't see the 200-300 numbers. We'll see 50 to 100 numbers. But yeah, there's some real chance here, especially if something spins up tonight out there. And you can see a couple of heavy showers coming into Townsville. That's what we expect for Townsville, those couple of heavy showers coming in, and the convergence to be north of the city tonight. Hey Nitso, are there any signals that could affect... Dan, hey Nitso, are there any signals that could affect the northwest Cloncurry area? We have a situation at work where the tailings dam has a point where we shut down. Mate, I'm not seeing much around Cloncurry, to be honest. I'm seeing a lot north of Cloncurry and east of Cloncurry, like northeast of Cloncurry. But Cloncurry, I mean, you wouldn't say no because there's a chance there it's showers and thunderstorms, right? So you can see here, yeah, that looks like a pretty stable flow for Cloncurry there. That's a pretty solid easterly coming through. Without anything to squeeze the air, that low is going to stay well north of Cloncurry. And from here, we're expecting that low to sort of move in a west to west northwest track. So there's nothing there that tells me that Cloncurry should be getting big rain. It does tell me that we're going to be pretty stable through that area, but let's have a look. Yeah, you can see you're sort of on the borderline of anything substantial. We'll have a look at some of the high-res modelling too, just to verify that. What do we got here? Yeah, so some light shower activity coming through on that easterly. See that heavier rainfall up here, but not really coming into Cloncurry itself. Yeah, a couple of little gusty showers there tomorrow afternoon. Yeah, but nothing there that tells me you should be getting big rain, mate. Nothing at all on the guidance. If we take a look at the Euro, no. I mean, there's a chance there, like a chance for the next couple of days, next couple of afternoons. Sorry, that's today. The next afternoon, tomorrow. So you've got a little bit of shower and thunderstorm risk. So you might get sort of the edge of a storm that develops a little further north of you. You might sort of be on the southern boundary of that storm. Yeah, once that low pushes to your west, it opens up a little bit more of an easterly flow component into the Curry. Yeah, so this is better around Wednesday. Well, not better for you, but better from a convective potential. So as that low starts to push west, it does open up a bit of moisture into the northwest district. So you can see there, there's a little bit of shower and thunderstorm activity. Once again, primarily north of the Flinders Highway. So you know, you're on the southern edge. Every time one of these storm days happens, you're on the southern boundary of that storm day. So you can't guarantee you can't get a storm, but you wouldn't be a focus of attention. And if you do get one, it'll probably only be a very short, very fast-moving type cell, as opposed to anything that's going to stick around and dump 100 mils on you or anything like that. So, and then after that, we should stabilise the place for a while. Beyond that, I think there's another trough coming through to the south of you over the weekend. But yeah, there's a few storms there coming through Cloncurry on Monday or Sunday into Monday. Potentially through the Mount Isa Cloncurry area. So you'll need to watch that. That trough does look like it's going to produce some pretty decent storm activity, and that's where your next bout of heavy rain might come in for Cloncurry. They are great in Atherton but mild in Mareeba. Yeah, Amy, I've lived in Mareeba to know that what goes around comes around. Sometimes Mareeba smashes Atherton in thunderstorm activity and in intensity. It's just a luck of the draw type thing between Mareeba and Atherton as to who gets the biggest storms. I think Atherton on average get an extra 5 or 6 storm days a year. I think it was when I was doing my climatology study of the area when I was a younger fella. I think, yeah, Atherton might get 5 more storm days a year, but overall, no, Mareeba gets its fair share. Is there any truth science behind long-range forecasting? Oh, Matt, I don't know anything about long-range forecasting, mate. All I know is about short to medium-range forecasting. Long-range forecasting is more climate weather, and I mean we do a seasonal forecast for the members, for the subscribers, but it's not it's not an expertise area for me. I know enough to be able to compile a forecast. I don't know enough to speak intelligently about what other maybe non-mainstream scientific evidence we can bring into seasonal forecasting. I mean, there's a lot of people that swear by moon phases, energy phases, sun phases, and I'm certainly not someone that's going to rubbish that, because I'm also a person that believes that flora and fauna can help us forecast the season ahead. So I'm not going to say no to emerging scientific fields that might be looking at those things as a way to talk about, I don't want to discredit. I know sometimes, you know what I don't like about those seasonal forecast pages is sometimes they try and discredit us. You know, like they discredit the way we do things and say that they do it better. Well, no, they don't do it better. They just do it differently. than us. That's why I'm not going to try and discredit them for what they do. And that's what irks me about some of those long-range forecasters. They've got that ego to think that they know what's coming 6 months ahead. They're not fantastic at it. I mean, yes, they get a few things right, but they're not fantastic at it. But I'm not there to rubbish their methods, okay? And that's not my job. It's not my job. That's not my area. So I'm not in that field. I'm not understanding of what their processes are for their scientific methods. All I use here is a short to medium range and sometimes a sub-seasonal modelling. And the only time I'll use seasonal modelling is when it's one of my least favourite things to do is the season ahead forecast, and I try to do one of those every month for the members. But I stay away from seasonal forecasting if I can avoid it. But yeah, I know a lot of people like seasonal forecasts because they can set their planting seasons. They know if they need to buy stock for their cattle and stuff like that, mate. But I think it's such an imprecise field at the moment, and our scientific methods about seasonal forecasting are rubbish. I'll be the first to admit that. Our mainstream methods are pretty garbage. We can sort of broad scale brush everything and say, yeah, it should be lots of rain or should be not rain, but yeah, it's no good. We need to find better methods. And if there's emerging scientific fields out there that have a situation where they think that they've found some answers, I'm not going to rubbish that. Certainly not. I'm gonna accept that. Well, welcome that. I'm going to question it because I'm going to say, hang on, why haven't smarter people than you figured this out before? Why are you the person to figure it out? But I'm not going to rubbish them, man, because I don't know enough about that part of their science or that part of their method. But what I do hate about those pages is they try to rubbish the way we do things, because there is truth and science behind the way we do things, and I'm at a loss to know what their truth and science is for their way of doing it, but I'm not going to rubbish it, okay? But yeah, mate, sorry, that's a long-winded answer. Is there any truth science behind long-range forecasting? There's a certain page on Facebook that seems to get decent results, just luck. No, I don't think it's just luck. I think they do have, whatever page you're looking at has a method that they use, and that's their method, and that's fantastic. That if they've come up with a way to forecast the season ahead that's better than the traditional method, I'm all for it, mate, and I'm not going to rubbish that shit. So, yeah. Leone, become a member for great value for money. Thanks, Leone. By the way, folks, we're a subscription service, so all this stuff we're talking about, we've already talked about with the subscribers. We did 1 update today, 2 updates today, 3 updates, 4 updates, 5, 6, 7 forecasts today for the members. So you get those every single day. There's at least 4 or 5 every single day of the wet season. So make sure you join us. $32.95, folks, and solid monsoon over the Herbert Valley all day. Yes, Bill, and there'll be solid monsoon. Herbert Valley is Northern Territory, right? Or Herbert River. Hang on, mate. Herbert, because there's 2 Herberts. I'm pretty sure there's a Herbert in the Northern Territory. No, there's a Herbert. So there's a Herbert in the Northern Territory. So they're about to get a lot of rain because of the monsoon. Because their monsoon is going to get quite strong. There's a Herbert Valley Motel in Ingham. So I'm assuming you're either meaning the Ingham or both of you are getting a lot of rain. Let's put it that way. Both the Herbert in the NT and the Herbert in far north Queensland, they're both getting a fair bit of rain. The far north Queensland rain is tonight into tomorrow for the Ingham area, and for the Herbert region here, we're going to see significant rainfall across the week. All right, as the monsoon settles, gets cranky for them. So, Bill, I'm not sure where you are, mate, but that's where, yeah. All right, we don't seem to be getting as much rain as normal. Do we have more coming? Tony, I'm going to disagree with you, bud. There's been a shit ton of rain all through northern Australia. I am going to disagree with you big time here. We are getting a lot more rain than normal. Over the last 5 or 6 wet seasons, we have killed normal. Normal has increased because of the amount of rain that we've had. So that's, yeah. So, mate, respectfully, I'm going to disagree with you. I don't know where you are, though. So maybe for your region, that might be true. But if you're talking about Northern Australia as a whole, man, there's been some serious rain in Northern Australia in the last 5 years. So we're getting way more rain than what is normal in Northern Australia. But as I say, there might be areas in Northern Australia that might be true for you, Tony. So I don't want to rubbish that. I don't want to rubbish that comment. But from a general perspective, I will vehemently disagree with your comment about we don't seem to be getting as much rain as normal, because we're getting more rain than normal in Northern Australia. Jordan, what's your current opinion on the effects of the warming event on our cyclone season this year? Jordan, we've only had three stratospheric warming events in the southern hemisphere that we can go back to, and from all three of those, we had poor cyclone seasons. This is the fourth time we've had a stratospheric warming event. This time, it's done completely the opposite. Completely the opposite. We're having an absolute bonza cyclone season this season. Some of them have been garbage cyclones, like old mate over here, Koji, or whatever the hell it was. Wasn't a cyclone, but we'll call it that just for shits and giggles. So that thing, all right, we've had a couple of those in the Australian region where they've been shit. But overall, it's been a big cyclone season. And that is why, and that's why we didn't want to use the stratospheric warming event as a reason for a seasonal outlook, because we don't know enough about what they do to our potential cyclone seasons. See, every other time we had a stratospheric warming event, it was coinciding with an El Nino. And so did we have poor cyclone seasons because it was an El Nino? Did we have a poor wet season because it was an El Nino? Or did we have a poor wet season because of the stratospheric warming event? It's the chicken or the egg. Which one? We could probably theorize that it was because of the El Nino, right? Because the El Nino is something we know about. We know the mechanisms behind it, and we know how it works. We know the effects of an El Nino. So, but what effect does does it have any effect? Does the warming event have any effect whatsoever? You would have to say, we've had 3 El Ninos with 3 stratospheric warming events. This one wasn't an El Nino. This was a La Nina with a stratospheric warming event. And the La Nina is playing out just like a La Nina should. Lots of rain in Northern Australia. So does the stratospheric warming event even have an effect on us? The data set is too small to say yes or no. But I'm throwing it out there that based on the last 4, you would have to say no, it doesn't have an effect. Because the 3 years we had a stratospheric warming event, we had an El Nino. And so we had poor wet season. This season, we had a stratospheric warming event, we've got a La Nina, and we've got a big wet season. Does it have an effect? Based on that small data set, no. But you can't. You can't use a data set of 3 or 4 to try and figure out whether it does or it doesn't, mate. It's one of those things. Maybe when I'm dead, they'll have figured it out. But for now, there's no way we can use 4 data sets and give you an opinion on your question there, Jordan. What's your current opinion on the effects of the warming event on our cyclone season? I don't have an opinion. I can't formulate an opinion because we don't have the data set to justify any opinion. Not at the moment. All right. What I can tell you is La Nina creates more cyclones, more rain. El Nino creates less cyclones, less rain. And the 3 warming events that happened in El Nino resulted in less cyclones, less rain. And the one warming event that coincided with the La Nina created more cyclones, more rain. So I can't theorise anything to do with the stratospheric warming event for any of this. We can't attribute any of it to that. Okay? So I hope that answers your question there. When did the last cloud from Yasi disappear? I'm not sure I can answer that, Moon. Probably not for a number of days after the cyclone hit the coast, because it went all the way to Mount Isa and then stuffed around in the middle part of the nation, and then I forget what Yasi did after Mount Isa. I remember it got to Mount Isa as a cyclone, and then it just sort of died out here, I think. But, mate, I couldn't tell you. All right. Thanks for watching, folks. Just remember, we've got a subscription service. If you'd like to support us, $32.95 a year. You get all my forecasts. Doesn't break the bank. It's once a year. It's not every month. And we'll talk to you again on Thursday night, not tomorrow night. Tomorrow night, what are you watching for? If you're in North Queensland, you are watching for any rotation on the coastline that forms tonight, tomorrow night, and the next night. All right, so the next 3 nights you're watching for any potential rotation that forms on that North Tropical Coast between Cooktown and Ingham. That's going to dictate how much rain you get, and you want to be on the south side of that to get big rain. If you're not watching that, I can't help you out anymore.